Hello, Montgomery County. My name is Brandon Langer, and I am the Program Administrator for Instructional Technology with MCIU. This program is called Talking EdTech, and we like to meet with vendors and take a look at various solutions in the marketplace and find out what's going on in the areas of technology and how it can apply and improve our classrooms and our learning experience for students, teachers, and administrators across the county and across the Commonwealth. We're very excited today to have Seesaw, and we have three terrific representatives from Seesaw to give us a look at their platform and some exciting developments that they are offering moving forward. So I'm going to hand it off to Wendy to introduce her team, and thank you all for joining us today to have this conversation and share what's going on in your area of tech.
Thank you, Brandon. Yes, my name is Wendy Blackman, and I have the pleasure of working with Lessons from the very beginning phases of Lessons. I've enjoyed being part of the development of our different collections that we're hosting now and really helping our customers solve specific curriculum needs through the use of our standard line and ready to teach lessons. And so as interest has grown and the excitement has continued to grow, so is our team. So I'm really excited to introduce you to our new Northeast Lessons District Partnership Representative, Toby Epstein.
Thanks, Wendy. Hi, everybody. I'm Toby. It's very nice to meet you, and I am looking forward to working with you and your districts. I have been working in the educational technology and curriculum industry for about the last 13 years. And one of the things that drew me to come over to Seesaw is that I have been watching my kids use Seesaw in the classroom, and their faces light up every time I see them at home working on Seesaw. And all of last year, watched them all the time on Seesaw, interacting with their content, and it was really exciting. So I'm very excited to be a part of the Seesaw team and working with your districts. Go for it, Mia.
All right. Hello, everybody. I am Mia Leonard. I am the Training and Professional Development Specialist here at Seesaw. Formerly, before joining the Seesaw team, I actually taught kindergarten in the Chicago Public Schools for 10 years. 4 of those years, I used Seesaw with my little ones avidly and just fell in love with the tool. So now I get to work with amazing educators like you all, teaching you about the power of this tool. So I'm very excited to be here with you today as well. I would love to start with this quote from a teacher using Seesaw. Seesaw allows all students to share their voice and excitement about learning through the use of the multimodal tools. It warmed my heart to see a connection between a student and their dad while engaging with his child's work on Seesaw. So let's talk a little bit about what Seesaw is. Seesaw brings educators, students, and families together to create a powerful learning loop between the classroom and the home. So teachers create learning experiences that engage students and allow them to use multimodal learning tools to capture learning. Families get to view and support learning to co-own outcomes. Research shows that when both teachers and families co-own the learning, outcomes for students improve. So here is our agenda for today. So today we are going to share how teachers create those multimodal learning experiences on Seesaw. And then we're going to learn how teachers can find ready-to-teach lessons on Seesaw and how families can become partners in the learning process. All right, let's go ahead and jump in. We're going to start by exploring how teachers create meaningful learning experiences for students on Seesaw. So here's an example of an activity created by a kindergarten teacher on Seesaw. The Seesaw platform makes it easy for teachers to create multimodal learning experiences. So teachers can use Seesaw learning tools such as the camera, the video, the audio, the drawing tools, which are all embedded in the platform to create learning activities that allow for learning that really highlights student voice and choice, allow students to be creators as opposed to consumers, and can show their learning and their growth over time. So in this activity, you see here, students can choose how to show what they know using the different tools in Seesaw. So this little one chose to take a picture of a pattern that they created, and then he uses the microphone to explain, which really gives the teacher a glimpse inside of his understanding. So these are the powerful multimodal learning tools in Seesaw that teachers use to create activities that allow students voice and choice. to extend hands-on learning and make thinking and learning visible and share growth over time. So teachers can use that photo and that video tool to capture all of those hands-on learning moments. We know that all students learn best when they're creating, when they're engaging in those hands-on learning experiences. So the photo and the video tool allow them to capture those learning experiences. The microphone is very powerful because it allows students to record and reflect on their thinking, and so does that voice tool. With that annotation tool and the text tool, students are able to add more depth and explanation to their work. And Seesaw has a multi-page feature which allows for even more learning.
Mia, can I just one quick follow-up there? Something I think that you do really well is what you've highlighted just there, in the diversity, not just in providing students choice of activity and response, but also providing the tool embedded within it to engage in that response. And I think that's a difference here compared to other things I see in the marketplace, just from the standpoint of, a lot of times we'll give teachers that are giving students choice, say, all right, if you want to do this, go over here and use this.
Right.
If you want to do this, go over here and use this. And you end up in 3 different venues. The teachers have to collect 3 different venues and then sort through all of that. What you're providing here is both the, ability for the teacher to provide learning options, but then also a way for them to collect them in a unified platform. And I think that's really important to call out here as a difference.
Yes, this doesn't require a lot of lift on the teachers' end. We know teachers are busy, so they don't have to, like you said, prep and kind of prepare all those different choices. And these tools really allow students to choose how to share their learning in a way that really capitalizes on their strengths.
That's great.
Great. So let's talk about teachers in Seesaw. So teachers can access ready-to-teach learning experiences on Seesaw. As I mentioned, we know that teachers are busy, and now more than ever, they want time to focus on building those relationships with their students and their families. So we have created standards-aligned, ready-to-teach lessons that use those powerful multimodal tools that we just discussed to engage students. So here we are in Seesaw Lessons. So I am actually going to jump in and explore the STEAM collection. So in our STEAM collection, there are activities created for 1st and 2nd grade. So we are going to take a look at a 2nd grade lesson on matter. I'm actually going to jump in to my Seesaw account live. So here I am in this lesson on matter. This is the lesson overview. So this is where teachers can find everything they need to teach the lesson, including you'll see here an overview of the lesson, how suggestions for how to use this lesson in the classroom, any materials, any additional materials outside of Seesaw that they will need. And it also shares here the standards that align with this particular lesson. You can definitely assign this lesson directly from this page, or you can copy and edit it to make it specific to the needs of your student. You can also click through a lesson and view it as a student to just take a look at the ins and out of that particular lesson. But what I am going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to assign this lesson to a class. And then I'm actually going to jump into that lesson. Here we go. And I'm going to add a response as a student so you can see what it's like from the student point of view. So here I am inside of this STEAM lesson. So with STEAM, students explore a concept by hearing 2 statements and exploring each to determine whether which one is true or not. Students apply what they learn through science, technology, engineering, art, and math. Every lesson begins with a clickable homepage. This is the homepage for STEAM, where they can click and navigate to the various parts of the activity. So we're going to start here where it says start here. So this lesson begins with an instructional video, as does every Seesaw lesson. And that instructional video just gives students any background information or content or context that they need in order to successfully complete the lesson. And this video can be watched together as a whole class. It can be watched independently as well. So I just want to play just a few minutes of the video so you can see how our friends, Dr. Science and Dr. Discovery, explain matter to students. So we're just going to play about 1 minute of this.
Hey, fellow scientists. Welcome to our game show. I am Dr. Science.
And I am Dr. Discovery, and welcome to Everyday Science.
Let's meet our fellow scientists playing the game with us today, all the way from Uganda.
Hi, Dr. Science and Dr. Discovery. I'm Ethan, and this is Samantha. Today, we want to explore the science of matter. Which fact about matter is true? The first fact is matter is anything that takes up space and smells good. The second fact is physical properties are things that we can measure and observe with our senses.
Now remember, one of these facts is true. The first fact is matter takes up space and smells good. I'm not going to lie. I don't like things that smell bad. Nope.
You don't? Because I can still smell that sardine sandwich you had for lunch today.
Right.
The second fact is physical properties are things we can measure and observe with our 5 senses.
Now, clearly, we don't know.
So you can see here that the video introduces and explains the content in a fun and engaging way for students. All these videos include students and families from diverse backgrounds so that students can see themselves represented in the content. So after students watch the video, then they are tasked with completing different multimodal activities that allow them to practice that skill or concepts that was presented in the video. So let's just take a look at some of these activities here. So you can see here, after watching the video, students begin by reviewing the physical properties of matter, and they check out Dr. Science and Dr. Discovery's observations of a candy bar. So this is the technology activity, and here students begin by reviewing the states of matter. And then on the next page, what they do is they use that photo tool to take pictures of items in their physical environment that represent each state of matter. And then they use that microphone to further explain so really reflect on the items that they chose, and it gives you, as the educator, a glimpse into their understanding. So there are several different activities that are designed to be completed over a period of time. So you can see here, this is another example of one of those activities. It just restates a fact about matter, and it has students manipulate, and it asks them a question. If we evenly space out each ice cube, how many ice cubes can this tray make? But in addition to asking them that question, they actually give them an opportunity to manipulate and kind of figure out the answers to that question. You'll also notice that there are directions in English and in Spanish on every page as well. So in addition to those multidimensional hands-on activities that allow students for that deliberate practice of that skill or that concept that is being taught, every lesson has a connection activity, and here is the connection activity for this specific lesson on matter. This activity is designed for students to be to complete at home with a family member. But it can also be completed with a partner in the school environment as well. But here they have students making slime as an example of a non-Newtonian fluid.
Hey, Mia, can I ask a quick question
Yeah,
here? So you were showing us activities.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to call out, in case someone hasn't seen Seesaw before, one of the other strengths I see here is that your platform's designed to be used in different type of input. So whether it's a laptop, whether it's an iPad, it makes use of that, in this case, your finger is not getting in the way of the students giving their feedback. Some school districts might have Chromebooks, some school districts might have iPads. Your assignments and your activities look to be able to be accessed in both of those, regardless of which one you're using. And I think that that's another thing that other lesson delivery systems sometimes struggle with, because they were designed around a physical keyboard and a mouse rather than on the go for, particularly as we're looking at younger learners here. A lot of schools do have iPads. And then my other question related to kind of hear what you're talking about in terms of the different activities is a teacher able to, like you would on any slide deck, hide certain ones or add their own into the learning sequence?
Yes.
You might have been getting to this later. It's just popped in my head as you were kind of going through the different activities.
Yes, just like with a regular Seesaw activity, you can copy and edit and you can change anything. So this is a multi-page activity that's designed to be completed over multiple days. Some teachers may think that it may be overwhelming for some students, maybe a beginning of the year first grader. So you can definitely copy and edit and delete any of these pages like you would any Seesaw activity. Just click on those three little dots. You can delete those pages. You can reorder anything on the canvas. You can also add, like you mentioned, your own video. There is a video here, but maybe you want your students to hear your voice and you want to kind of explain that content or go in a different direction. You can definitely do that with these lessons.
And then the call out at the top, is that reading? It says English and Espanol. Is that going to read me the directions?
Yes.
Awesome. That's great.
Yes.
Yeah. Now, one other thing I'd like to point out is the fact that it always has the home page at the bottom. So if you click on that home page, it's going to bring the students back to that original page. And like Mia had mentioned, these lessons are designed for, to take the lift off of the teachers. One, they have access to these ready to teach standard aligned lessons that are ready to go. And two, the teachers are assigning the lessons one time, let's say at the beginning of the week, and then the students are going in and out of these activities. So they don't have to continue to assign lessons, but they have all of these activities to complete during the week. And this will continue to take the students back to that home page as they complete one of the specific activities. And then maybe the next day after they've completed science, they're going to go ahead into technology and kind of follow through that flow. And the response that I have gotten from districts and from teachers is that they just love the consistency that they're going to see throughout the lessons. And this home page is in many of our collections. Although it looks different in the collections, it still has that same basic concept of coming back into the specific lesson and completing a different multimodal activity.
Yes, Wendy.
Yeah, I agree, Wendy. And you can see that. And one other thing I want to point out, that view as a student button before you even launch this, Mia, is so helpful, because for a lot of teachers, they're like, this is a new platform. This is something new I'm working in. What does this even look like on the kids' side? So you're having to launch it, then you're having to test two sides. I just love that it's just right there for teachers when they were looking at the lesson overview. We saw it earlier, and I wrote it down, except I didn't know that was there.
Yeah, Brandon, I think that's a really great call out, because that is specific to just Seesaw lessons themselves. How Mia had showed that lesson card, and then there is that button to view it as a student, which is exactly how they can see that. And that's all going to be specific to lessons themselves.
All right, so now we've had an opportunity to explore that lesson. So with Seesaw Lessons, students explore skills in multimodal and cross-curricular ways. They share their voice and choice. They really see the impact of their hard work over time. As Wendy mentioned, they have that opportunity to go back to the lesson over and over, which really encourages that growth mindset. Every lesson has a connection activity, which extends that learning from school to home, which research shows does accelerate learning. We do currently have 13 collections of lessons for grades pre-K through 2, and the topics range from STEAM, which I demoed for you, to SEL, ELA, math, history, and more. These are all of the collections that we have, and we are continuing to add content every semester, so you will continue to receive that quality content. They're ready to teach, and they're flexible. So teachers can use them in a number of ways. They can set up a center or a station and have students rotate through the Seesaw Lessons Center. They can have students do lessons as independent practice to reinforce that content that they've already taught whole group. And it's also great for remote or hybrid learning as well. Seesaw invites families to be a part of the learning journey. Families become a powerful part of the learning loop so that they can be active participants in their child's learning. So research shows that family engagement really makes a huge difference. As educators, we know that one of the most accurate predictors of student success is the extent to which families are involved in their child's learning and supported at home. When we actually recognize our families as assets, we support students to be their best. So here is the student view of the Seesaw Journal here on the left. And on the right, you will see the family app. So families can connect to their child's journal and see everything that their child posts, which means that they receive those regular communications from their child's school that is centered around learning. I can't count the number of times that at the end of the day, when my kindergarten families would come pick up their students, they would ask their little ones, well, what did you learn all day? Well, we played. We went to recess, but here families can really see all of the learning that is going on throughout the day, even when their child might not necessarily be able to articulate that to them. And when families have a window into the classroom, that learning blends into family life. Families can see, as I mentioned, what their child learns each day, and this allows that spark for that meaningful conversation and extend that learning to home.
And Mia, sorry, can you go back and just show that slide? Because there's just so many good things here that people don't see right away.
Mm-hmm.
On the right side there, that is a user interface that people are used to interacting with. Whether you've used Seesaw or not, you can open that family app and get your way through that interface. And that was one of the biggest lessons of the pandemic very quickly with LMS systems is one, they were cumbersome at times for families to even get in there and know where to look. Then secondly, organizing the learning environment so that it was consistent from teacher A to teacher B to teacher C was another challenge. And then the communication aspect in a traditional LMS environment can be challenging because, again, it comes back to that, where am I looking and how do I do it? This looks identical on the right-hand side there, and an app where we spend a lot of our vision in digital devices, which is on our phone. We're used to seeing that menu at the bottom. We're used to seeing called out the explicit ways that we can interact with this application. You don't need to be trained, or at least, you can make a how-to guide, you guys have a lot of those, but I just think that that is an unspoken, or maybe something that we take for granted in tech in general, but in education is lacking.
Yeah, I personally love how the lessons includes the family as well. So these lessons are designed with the Connect activity to do even at school with a partner, but also at the home. So beyond just having the insight into what the students are actually doing in the classroom, it's extended into the home so that the families can actually participate in the lesson and the learning itself. And that's something I think that's also very unique to Seesaw Lessons.
Well, thank you so much, Mia. Appreciate you sharing how Seesaw and Seesaw Lessons can bring education, students, and families together to create a powerful learning loop between the classroom and the home. To wrap up today, we discussed how Seesaw uses multimodal learning tools to capture hands-on learning in the classroom. It allows students to layer on reflection with digital tools and make thinking and learning visible. This gives teachers valuable insight into the child's learning. So Seesaw Lessons save teachers time with ready-to-teach, standards-aligned, and engaging learning experiences. Seesaw, as always, is including families in the learning process as we value them as partners in our learning.
I just have a couple of follow-up questions, if it's all right, just because I think there's so many things that were highlighted there. We kind of gave a brief overview of Seesaw, and then we saw where the company's headed with lessons and the power that Toby just mentioned at the end, the saving of time with good content. There's a lot of content out there now. Much of it that was created 10 years ago is already showing its age. Even 7 years ago is already showing its age. What I love is this term of, I forget what you call it, but maybe multidimensional, multimodal, I think is maybe the term. Any thoughts on that multimodal and how that improves the classroom, or how we see that term playing out in Seesaw Lessons?
I think one of the powerful things about Seesaw Lessons is that it's still, these lessons still have students engaging and learning and exploring in ways that students learn best, right? So we know we can't throw the baby out with the bathwater, right? Students still need to be creating, they still need to be drawing. And with Seesaw Lessons, they are still doing that, but these multimodal tools are layered on top, so that it just adds depth and it transforms that experience for both the teacher and the student. So, you know, you can still create and make those STEAM activities, but you're going to use that video tool to actually explain and reflect. And also, this is powerful for teachers to get a glimpse into the minds of their students, but also, you know, we know that, you know, it can be difficult at times for teachers to really individually connect with every student, but these multimodal tools and resources allow that teachers to really connect with each individual student. I know when I was in the classroom, I had 33 kindergartners. So, you know, I would have my systems in place to meet with individual groups or small groups of students. But, you know, this really allowed me to gain insight into each student's understanding on a regular basis, those multidimensional tools.
Yeah. And I love, you know, everything that you're saying. And then in terms of that multi-dimensional approach, if you're familiar with Jo Boaler is a researcher out of Stanford, and she really talks about that multi-dimensional approach of when you have a concept, for example, you know, one concept that I like to show a lot of the districts is on main topic, let's say. And we're going to take a look at main topic, and you generally think of looking at main topic through just reading. But with these multidimensional activities, you're going to see that we're pulling in art and talking about main topic. We're pulling in math and science and all of those different cross-curricular areas to make sure that we've really deeply embedded that concept that they're learning.
And that's the power of one of the underutilized powers of technology, Wendy, because how can we do that? We have tools now to collaborate on content in a way that we didn't 20 years ago. You can bring specialists together. You can put them in a single platform like your company has done, and develop out, you know, really with a curriculum planning mindset, where we want to go and how does this infuse across all these areas, where that was really hard to accomplish before tech, just from even an organizational standpoint. I did cross-curricular units when I was in school. It took two people, teacher A, teacher B, getting together, doing an extensive amount of planning together, and hopefully that's still going on. But the power here is that you have a starting point that you can do that across. Now we can get 5 people, give them all the base, and then we can work our way together how we want to bring this all together, maybe with our localized project or our localized problem-based learning or STEAM activities that we're already doing and we don't want to lose. This starts the conversation because it brings more people in from the beginning. You know, Steve Jobs talked about this. We want people starting on the 20th floor and going up. That speeds up the process. And that's similar to what you're doing, I feel like, is you're giving people that 20th floor starting point to then build the skyscraper versus starting on floor 5. And that's such a big thing that I think education needs to look at in terms of, if we're going to accelerate learning, if we're going to preach and accomplish true equity in the classroom, that's how it's going to happen.
Yep, absolutely. I love the way that you put that with the floors. And then, you know, also keep in mind all of these lessons, you know, are standard aligned, state specific standards. We have an alignment tool that is going to, you know, as the teachers are getting together and saying that they need to meet X standard, we have an alignment tool that's going to take them straight into those specific lessons. In addition to that, we have many lessons that are aligning to the core curriculum that many of the districts are already using. So we are giving you that ability to get started at a much higher level and take off that lift to get there, just like you're saying.
That's great. And one other thing you were calling out me as you were going, sorry, I wrote down a lot. You were talking about the ability to share learning. We're bringing in the families, which is great, and making visible that which my son won't tell me, which is what he did today. So I sleep and breathe that every day. So that's great to have that insight. I also love this idea of building over time and building a learning portfolio, whether that needs to get submitted anywhere or not. Think about the power of that, of even just being able to hand teacher, third grade teacher from the second grade teacher, hey, this is where the student is. When they come to us, it's like, oh yeah, I kind of remember this or that. This is hard evidence of student work. This is hard evidence that we can use to personalize learning. And this builds that portfolio naturally without having to, again, go to another tool and say, all right, let's track everything over here. That's a real problem. Time is the biggest issue for a lot of teachers.
Definitely is. And even the power in students themselves being able to see, go through their journals and go through their own portfolio and see that growth over time. A lot of students, they especially younger ones, having taught kindergarten, they kind of, developmentally, they're in the moment and they can't necessarily remember like what happened at the beginning versus the end of the school year, but them being able to really see their growth, or maybe, even any student thinking, those milestones or that growth is minimal, but actually being able to physically see that, how that empowers students as well, and how that motivates them to keep going and keep pushing is just so powerful.
I agree. Anything anybody else wants to add? I don't want to cut us short, but I also know that we're all very busy, and I appreciate your time. In terms of next steps, we have a number of districts in the county and across the Commonwealth that are using Seesaw. So Toby, I believe you're going to be a point of contact for anybody to reach out to. Is that correct?
Absolutely. You definitely can reach out to me if you are already using Seesaw and want to try out lessons. We'd love to help you get started with that.
Yeah. And also, if you are not currently a Seesaw for Schools customer and you would like to try both, we can certainly support you with that as well.
Absolutely. So if you want to learn more about Seesaw Lessons, please visit this website right here. We'd love to hear from you as well. So when you get onto this website, you can fill out our form, and I would love to talk to you and show you even more. So thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.
Well, once again, thank you everybody for your contribution, for honestly the hard work. It's evident that that your organization has moved forward through the pandemic and just continues to advance where we're heading in education. We've highlighted a lot of that today. There's so much there that all of us know to unpack. Wendy, you just kind of touched on one of my favorite things in there is just the ability to track based on skills and basically have the educational equivalent of what Monday.com does for business, you can do for learning, in terms of having trackable and easily usable tools to track learning over time. Mia, you're talking about the portfolio and seeing it visually. Teachers have a chart in there that they can even check off as they go. It's just such a great tool. And once again, thank you all for joining me today to kind of show us what's new and great, and also what the power is here.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank
you so much for having us.